I think it was just pressure from everywhere, and not knowing how to deal with the pressure at the time was just get away for a little while.
All right, so you picked up a hitchhiker where?
Just outside, south of Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Male or female?
Male.
Male. He was heading to Daytona,
He was on his way to Daytona.
and neither one of you had made up your mind on where you were going to
We
wind
were
up.
just coming to the beach. That's what our goal was. Daytona Beach sounded great.
Yeah.
No, constantly there was people that were coming and going. Some were just guys that didn't have somewhere to stay, and they ended up in Daytona Beach, and they were invited to come over. Some were guys that they knew in the past, girls also. It's just a constant influx. That was like the core, though.
Yeah, and back then, Daytona was a magnet for drifters.
And that's where most of them went and crashed and hung out and figured out what they were going to do, and then moved on from there.
Would it be fair to call you one of those drifters types?
I'm going to say it like this, I don't like it, but I think it's accurate.
Yeah, yeah. You kind of described yourself as this kind of young, naive person who felt like he was somebody because you were hanging out with older, tougher guys and girls in a couple cases. Yeah, explain to me what the attraction was being a part of that crowd.
Being somebody, being recognized as a tough guy, wanting to be a tough guy, not being a tough guy. Is that a good way of saying it? Wanting to fit in. Well, let me back up again. Jack and I were arguing, and what I did was I went out and sat on the hood of his car, and I was livid because he was backing in. They were driving in, and he was backing in, and it just
And you were on the hood of the car. You were exposed. You
and
were
I'm
falling off.
getting just madder and madder because I'm feeling like he's trying to knock me off, or just why in the world would you back into this road? And I could never get an explanation of it. And we're yelling at one another. He's got the window down, and we pull up. Jack had said the words, can I use, they had a bank card. Not a bank card, I apologize, a gas card that they used for filling up George Hughes' car. And Jack was asking Tim if he could use the gas car to fill up the tank of gas. And when I walked around there, he says, and maybe you can talk Russ into giving me a to the And at that time, that was it. And I grabbed the gun and I hit him in the side of the head with the gun, and the gun went off. Well, Tim Hagen turned around and pushed me down on the ground because he said the bullet just about hit him. It went winging off.
When the bullet went off, how did you react? Stunned you a bit.
I didn't, everything went slow motion. Everything was just moving really slow at that time. When I got up, because he'd pushed me down, when I stood up, Tim had leaned over him, and he said, Jack was on the ground, and he was kicking, like he was knocked out. And Tim leaned down, he checked his pulse. He said, he's just out cold. You just knocked him out real good. And John Caballero says, kill him, kill him, kill him, and I can't move. And that's when John grabbed the gun from me, pushed me back. It looked like he kicked him, but maybe that's hindsight. It looked like he did, but his back was to me at that time. And he shot him. That was it. There was nothing else. That was all there was to it.
What happened then?
He took the gun, put it down my pants, the front of my pants, said, that's how you do it. Now let's get out of here. Yes, yes. But as the stories progressed, it went from Tim didn't have anything to do with it at all, from being Jack being the trigger man, then I became the trigger man, just through a progression of different stories.
I guess I'm probably asking you to speculate, and I don't know whether you want to do this, but, you know, they were together a lot. They went to the law library a lot. They had their pretrial hearings together. Did they come up with this story on
It's
their
not.
own?
I don't have to speculate. I know for sure that they did. The reason why is in the Volusia, in the DeLand County Jail, in the law library. That's where you do your lawyer interviews also. So every time I had an interview with my lawyer, that's the room I went to. In the back wall, they had drawn an electric chair in the middle of the back wall, and it had all of their names out to the side with my name over top of the electric chair. And then you go in and you say, see on the table, John, look at book such and such. So I went up with my lawyer there and looked and showed book such and such. Go to this book. So we are going through. Here's what you got to say is this right here. And Carmen Corrente, who was my lawyer, witnessed all of that.
You were offered a plea.
They offered me 40 years.
Okay. And you think you would have gotten 40 years? So you're an 18-year-old kid at this point. 40 years seems like a very, very long time.
Then I couldn't grasp it. Then it was beyond my ability to even grasp.
And you also weren't going to serve 40 years for something you didn't think you did.
I wouldn't have copped out to it if I thought I could have done it in a couple of months. I didn't kill Jack.
Even if they had offered you probation or months in probation, you would have.
I don't think I would have, no, because I didn't kill Jack.
You're at this point kind of wayward, kind of a lost soul, but you still had a sense of integrity, personal honor, not to admit to something you did wrong for the sake of a lesser sentence. Can you explain that?
I'll try. At that time, it was really important for me to have that bravado image. It was really important for me at that time to be recognized as a stand-up dude. And believe it or not, I believe that it be just in my warped mind at the time, and this is hindsight. It's easy to see today what I didn't see then, but I think then it'd have probably been easier for me to face somebody shooting me than it would to be recognized as what I look at now and call it the kid back then was a piece of and to be honest, if you were to call me that at that time, I'd believe I'd have been real dangerous to you because that meant more to me than anything in the world to not be recognized as that. And
you already talked about Hammond. I mean, he died last year. He's had a courthouse named after him. He was eulogized by our U.S. Senator, Bill Nelson, praised him for his goodness and his integrity. But you must have some resentment for him.
I wrote him a letter. I'm going to say it was in the late 90s. Because this is going to sound crazy. But I try to see the whole thing from his eyes. And I actually thanked him. I actually thanked him because take the situation and put it aside. I mean, the death of Jack, that's not what I'm including in this, but just I couldn't be who I am today without all of that. I don't know if he meant it that way or not, but there's one thing that I remember he said when he sentenced me, and he said that he believes that somewhere inside of me is some good. And he hoped that I found that good. And I'd written him a letter and thanked him. Because at that time, I really believed that I'd found that good. I've said it before, if they welded me in a box and sent me to Canada and told me I couldn't leave the box for the rest of my life, I'd still want to go to Canada because of the fact that me being here is killing the people out there that never did anything wrong. I have been to the worst prisons that the state of Florida has to offer. Everywhere I go to, I have worked, and I mean, not because I had to, because if you know it or not, the hard jobs are optional, and I pretty much volunteered for them. I like to work, but also because I don't want Florida. I came to Florida as a guest. I mean, how horrible and shameful is that? I don't want anyone to ever say I didn't pay my debt. I don't think you can ever pay the debt that comes with the loss of a life. However, with all respect to Jack Chaney's mother, I hate the fact that the state of Florida knew who killed her son and let him go. And I didn't. And if 32 years in the state of Florida hasn't made it right yet, it isn't never going to be right. So I would ask the state of Florida either let me go back and try to make my family's life a little less miserable, or just kill me and take me out of everybody's misery, because it's at that point now. I'm going to say it like this. That kid is dead and gone and been dead and gone. In fact, sometimes when I look back, I can't even grasp who and what that kid was. I think the only answer I can give is what hasn't changed, and I can't think of anything that hasn't.